So for those of you just joining us, we are going to wait a few minutes just to give a few more folks to join us in the webinar today. We'll get started in a few minutes. Just hold tight. All right, everyone. Hello and good afternoon from New York City. So my name is Christina Duncan. I am an assistant director here at New York University in our Department of Residential Life and Housing Services. So I'm going to serve as your moderator and as a panelist for this afternoon's webinar. So a bit about me. So I've been at NYU for 6 years now. I started working in Gramercy Green. It's an upper class residence hall. And prior to my current role, I served as a residence hall director in 3rd Avenue North, which is one of our first year communities. Prior to NYU, I worked at the University of Georgia, and prior to that, I completed my master's degree at the University of West Florida in Pensacola, Florida. So my role here now at NYU is working with all of our buildings that house our first year students. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you next week on Move-In Day, January 22nd. I'd like to give my panelist and co-host Lauren a chance to introduce herself to you all.
Hi everyone, I'm Lauren Silverstein. I'm the Residence Hall Director at University Hall, which is one of our first year halls and where most of you will be coming to live this coming semester, so we're really excited to welcome you home. I've been here at NYU for 9 years as of next week, actually. I think I moved here 9 years ago today. I've actually been at University Hall that entire time in this role. Before I came here, I worked at the University of Minnesota and at Oberlin College, also in residence life, and I completed my master's at the University of St. Thomas. And like Christina, I'm really excited to talk with you today and to welcome you home next week.
Great. So before we jump in, just a quick overview of the technology. You should see a control panel in the right-hand side of your screen. You can use that control panel to control the volume, as well as enter any questions that you may have for us in the question box that you'll see in that same control panel. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to drop them in that question box. And when we get to the end of the presentation, we'll take questions from there and provide you all with some additional information if there's some things that we didn't cover in the presentation that you're curious about. All right, so let's get started.
Thanks, Christina. So on behalf of Residential Life and Housing Services, we want to welcome you to your future home away from home. You are about to join over 12,000 undergraduate and graduate students who call NYU housing their home. With 23 residence halls located in the heart of New York City, we believe that we have the perfect option for you at every stage of your college experience. Living in housing is going to give you an opportunity to make your college experience one that you're never going to forget and may never want to leave. Our buildings provide more than just a place to sleep. They give you a community of your peers, a network of staff to help during your transition to university life, and our goal is to help you refine your long-term aspirations while creating meaningful memories and lifelong friends.
All right, so we believe that your first year of college is very important. During this time, you may be adjusting to university life, to living away from home, or to sharing a room all for the first time. To help with this, we have 9 residence halls dedicated to first year students. These halls are part of an area that we refer to as FYRE. FYRE stands for the First Year Residential Experience. FYRE halls offer programmatic means and geographic location, which provide you with necessary resources during a critical time in college. FYRE provides opportunities to attend programs and activities designed to help you transition smoothly into your first year of college. Each hall has passionate faculty, professional staff, and student leaders who are equipped with the knowledge and skills to help you make the most of your first year at NYU. The experiences provided in your residence hall will help you connect to new friends, to NYU, and to the New York City community. Each hall has a strong hall government for students, so it's easy to get involved and become a part of one of NYU's best traditions while gaining experience as a student leader on campus.
So let's talk to you about who's in the community that you're about to move into. There are a number of partners involved in making sure that your first year goes smoothly. So each hall hosts a building leadership team, and that consists of the residence hall director, a residence hall assistant director, and a residence hall resource manager. The residence hall director, or RHD, we have lots of acronyms here, serves as, we direct all the aspects of the programs and services for the assigned residence hall. So that's both the community development as well as the housing operations. The residence hall director, we'll get there together, my friends. The residence hall assistant director manages the residence hall's day-to-day community development initiatives and programs in an effort to create residential living and learning communities. They also supervise the resident assistants, or RAs, and advise the hall council. The residence hall resource managers oversee operations at our resource center, which is what we call our front desks here, handle room assignments, and work with facilities to address building needs. You can find your building leadership team's contact information on your hall's NYU webpage. Our faculty, fellows, and residents work closely with one another and with residence hall staff to set an educational tone in the residence hall and to design and implement a wide range of opportunities for the students to interact with faculty members and with one another. They live in the residence halls with their families and will host a variety of events around the hall. In addition to the pro staff and the faculty, we're lucky to have a really fantastic team of paraprofessionals called resident assistants, or RAs, and a resource center assistant, or an RCA. The RAs and the RCA are full-time upper-class students who've gone through a competitive selection process and intensive training. The RCA supports functions of the resource center and the administrative processes within the hall, and each RA serves as a resource and a guide on their floor and in the building. They have a lot of responsibilities, but mainly they ensure the safety and security of our halls and help you build an engaging community. So res halls typically have one RA per floor, and you should be receiving an email from your RA in the next week, in the next few days, hopefully. You'll also be seeing your RA on your floor or within the hall and on move-in day, so make sure you say hi and introduce yourself. Within our halls, not only do we have qualified pro staff and student leaders available to address concerns and to ensure a safe environment, but we also partner with our Office of Public Safety to provide 24/7 security. So the Department of Public Safety and Residential Life work closely to provide special educational programs on safety for students. And you can also contact the public safety desk in your hall's lobby with specific safety concerns that you might have. They can even connect you with the RA on duty for after hours concerns. We have really fantastic, wonderful public safety officers. You're going to see them a lot. They're a great resource. Make sure you get to know them. They'll get to know you too. And lastly, each hall hosts a dedicated team of facilities and housekeeping staff. So this team's committed to keeping our entire building safe and maintained. And while our housekeeping team cleans their common spaces, it is the responsibility of each resident to clean their own rooms and suites. So now let's talk a little bit about the room that you're going to live in. So you might be wondering what your new home looks like. Amenities provided for each residence are extra long twin beds, a desk and a desk chair, a dresser and designated closet space. Rooms also have trash and recycling. In U-Haul, we have kitchens and common spaces, and each building varies based on what they've got. So you can take a look at your hall's page to find out more. But we're pleased to provide floor plans for the residence halls as well. They're not drawn to scale, and any perceived amenities or room configurations are always subject to change. But the floor plans are intended to give you a general understanding of location and the basic layout within the building. In addition to these photos and the floor plans, you can also check out our virtual tours and videos, 360 room views on our departmental website. All the halls will be hosting, we'll be hosting some social media for you, some tours. There's lots of photos. So if you check out your hall stuff, you can find out more. And if you're living in U-Haul, we'll send you an email tomorrow with some updates on some ways you can connect with us before move-in day.
All right, so room assignments and roommate information. So you can check your housing portal for your room assignment and your roommate information if you haven't already. Information about your roommates or suite mates can be found on the application and payment status page of your application in the NYU housing portal. And that's located in the NYU Global Home under NYU Life and Housing Forms card. First, you'll need to visit nyu.edu, click Log in NYU Home in the top right corner, and that'll be in the top right corner of the screen. Then you search for Housing Forms and click on Housing Forms/Go. After that, you click on Access Application. Click the Reapplication and Room Selection tab at the top of the page. Once you click Continue on the center of your screen, you'll scroll down. You should see the following information that's visible on your presentation screen right now, including the name and email address of your roommate and/or your suite mates. It's important to note that the residence halls will have a limited number of vacant spaces at the start of the semester, which leaves very little opportunity to grant any room assignment changes until later in the semester. First-year students will be able to participate in the bed-for-bed room exchange and submit a regular room change request beginning in February. After we've had a chance to verify attendance and occupancy to really have an idea of how many vacant spaces we have. We also want to give our roommates a chance to get to know each other before we have students start engaging in the room change process. And just a quick note, we're not able to accommodate any move-ins earlier than your assigned move-in date, which is Wednesday, January 22nd.
All right, so lots of you have already started asking questions about how to send yourself mail or packages, when you can start sending yourself mail and packages. So let's go over what that looks like. On this screen, you're going to see the recommended mailing address format. So you should not include the residence hall name or New York University in the address. Make sure that you address any packages sent to you with your legal name or your preferred name with the university. If you're living in Osmer or Clark, you will need to put Brooklyn, New York in your address. And if you're in U-Haul or any of the other Manhattan halls, then it would be in New York, New York. Anytime our resource center receives a package in your name, we log it for our records, and then you get an email notice from the hall letting you know that your package has been logged and is ready for you to pick up. We only accept packages from federal mailing services, so that's stuff like the post office, FedEx, UPS. We cannot take perishables, so things like baked goods, flowers, all that good stuff, and we don't accept food deliveries. So if you're like ordering food or whatever, then you call and you come down and pick it up. But we'll take anything that comes through UPS, FedEx, post office, or a regular courier like that. Some students have asked about mailing packages to their hall in advance of arriving, and unfortunately, we just can't accept packages for you until after you move in. We just don't have enough room in our mailroom to accommodate everything for everybody beforehand. So you should plan to have things arrive on move-in day or afterward.
All right, so as you prepare your belongings for move-in, there are several items you should plan to leave behind since they are policy violations here at NYU. This includes outside furniture such as butterfly chairs, couches, air mattresses, or futons. This includes anything that's considered a safety hazard, such as candles, incense, halogen lamps, toaster ovens, hot plates, or extension cords. Please be sure that you plan accordingly, as you will not be permitted to bring these items inside of the building. It's important to note the asterisk that you'll see on your screen next to the toaster and the toaster oven. So those items are only prohibited in apartment style suites, meaning that there's a kitchen. And so toasters and toaster ovens are only allowed in the kitchen area, and we allow one per apartment. We also prohibit pets. But if you have a medical need related to any of the prohibited items that we've mentioned, including service or emotional support animals, please reach out to the NYU Moses Center for Students with Disabilities to go through their approved accommodation process. You can Google NYU Moses Center to find the link to that website, as well as the links to forms that you would need to submit if you want to be potentially approved for reasonable housing accommodation. It's also important to understand that NYU follows city, state, and federal law, which means that no one under the age of 21 may bring alcohol or consume alcohol in the residence halls at any time. We also have strict guidelines in terms of smoking. Smoking is not allowed inside the hall or directly in front of any of our buildings. If you choose to smoke, you must smoke outside at a considerable distance from the hall's perimeter. This includes the use of e-cigarette devices such as Juuls or vapes. There is no marijuana use or storage allowed in the halls, even if you have a medical marijuana prescription. The same is true for all other non-prescription drugs. On your screen, there are just some examples of the prohibited items, but to find a full list of items that you should consider bringing and items that you should leave at home, you should visit tinyurl.com/NYU what to bring.
So we know that there's just a lot of excitement surrounding move-in day. So let's talk about a few things to consider before next Wednesday actually arrives. So first of all NYU students must comply with New York State and NYU immunization requirements. Students who have not submitted the appropriate documentation will not be permitted to check into housing, and the deadline for that is actually tomorrow. So you want to make sure that you're getting on top of that or contacting the Student Health Center if you're unable to get your information in on time. For more information, you should visit the Student Health Center's website. Now that you know how to find your roommate's contact information, you should reach out to them. Find out what they're going to bring to the room. Let them know what you're hoping to bring. Like, is somebody going to bring a TV? Are you bringing cooking equipment, shared household basics, things like that? It's never too early to start a conversation about living habits either. So do you sleep early or late? Are you really organized? Are you okay with a little bit of a mess? Some of these questions are going to be covered in your resident living agreement that you're going to complete with your roommates, but it's also just really helpful to start that conversation now. So, housing space is at capacity, and so it's really important to talk to each other about these things ahead of time. There are other things to think about. How about how we want you to feel like we want you to feel like you should personalize your space. We want you to feel at home here. So with that being said, we would ask that you pack or purchase some blue painter's tape or 3M removable sticky tabs to hang your items on the walls. Nails, screws, tacks, and strong adhesive tapes can cause significant damage to the building, so we just ask that you refrain from using those. And if you want to borrow some blue tape, or not borrow, if you want to use some blue tape, we actually have some available at the resource centers that you can ask to take a little bit of.
All right, so more about your NYU ID. So the deadline to submit your ID photo actually just passed on January 10th. If you were interested in actually being able to pick your ID up when you check in on move-in day. So if you met that deadline, and your photo was approved, your ID will be waiting for you when you arrive at your residence hall on move-in day on January 22nd. If you're unable to meet that deadline, don't worry. You can still submit your photo and actually get your ID at the NYU Card Center. You will just have to go to the NYU Card Center yourself during their business hours to pick up your NYU ID. All students need to actually check in on move-in day is a valid form of identification, and this could be a state driver's license, a state photo ID, or a passport. You can utilize that at your residence hall to check in, and you can utilize that if you need to go to the NYU Card Center to pick up your NYU ID.
All right, so let's talk about move-in day. So here are some tips that make things run as smoothly as possible. So first things first, when you enter any NYU building, you're going to be greeted by a public safety officer who monitors the entrances 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These officers check every person entering our buildings to ensure that they're NYU students and their guests. So as a residential student, you're going to use your NYU ID to gain access to the halls by swiping through an electronic gate. All guests must also have photo ID and have to be signed in with public safety officers when entering and exiting the building, and have to be accompanied by NYU students at all times. So for the majority of move-in day, we actually relax the process a little bit to allow for the heavy traffic flow we experience. So don't be surprised like mid-afternoon, early evening on move-in day when an officer starts to ask you for your ID and requires you to accompany your guests. We just do this to ensure that the safety of every student in the building is intact. So please be aware that all guest policies are strictly enforced throughout the academic year and the summer. If you have trouble navigating your hall, we definitely recommend that you reach out to a member of the move-in crew. We'll have lots of folks volunteering to help you out. To professional staff, public safety, or your RA, we're going to be around and happy to point you in the right direction. So when you get here, you should arrive to your hall's designated check-in station. That can be found in the email that you're going to get from your hall sent prior to your arrival. You'll pick up your room keys, sign your registration card, and obtain any guest wristbands you might need. So on move-in day, during the day, we'll give you a wristband that your guests can wear so that they can navigate the buildings easily, and then after 3 p.m., you'll have to sign your guests in and out. So there's a family and friends meeting taking place at 3 p.m. at University Hall in the C Lounge for students moving into a Manhattan residence hall, and at 3 p.m. on the Othmer first floor lounge for students living on the Brooklyn campus. Here, your family and friends can learn more about your new home. Family and friends of students living in halls other than Othmer and Clark other than U-Hall, like I said, are welcome to come to the U-Hall one in Manhattan, and in Brooklyn, you would go to Othmer and Clark. So at the end of the day, all students and their families and their guests are invited to join President Andy Hamilton for a welcome reception at the Kimmel Center for Student Life at 5 p.m.
All right, so now we are going to move on to talk about the actual move-in process. So first and foremost, we ask that you arrive during your scheduled move-in appointment window. And so you'll see the slide on the screen right now that shows what those windows are. So for students who will be living in University Hall, we ask that you arrive during these windows based on what floor you will be living on. For students living in our other residence halls, whether it be in Brooklyn at Othmer or Clark, or at the other Manhattan residence halls that you see listed at the bottom of the screen, you can begin arriving at 8 a.m. and your move-in process would start at the resource center of the building that you are assigned to live in. So you can arrive and just check in with the public safety officer that will be at the desk, and they'll be able to assist you if you live in a hall other than University Hall. For University Hall students, we're going to share more information about the plan that you need to follow for your move-in process on that day. All right, so we recommend that you bring 2 people with you if possible, as you cannot leave your car unattended during the move-in process. Rather, you must unload and move your vehicle to a local parking garage immediately. With a total of 3 people, one person can watch your unloaded belongings, another can move the car, and you, the student, you'll be able to head inside of U-Haul and sign for your keys and finish the check-in process. Remember, the resident or the student, they're the only person that's able to check in and pick up their room key. Please pay attention to your hall's emails and signs that will be posted on move-in day to help you with the move-in process. For individuals who will not be arriving in a vehicle of their own, your first step is to head directly to the check-in area to pick up your key. The rest of the process is the same for everyone. So at the bottom of the screen, you'll notice our motto, stop, drop, and go. So we ask that you stop at your designated hall, drop off your unloaded belongings, and then go find parking immediately. Once you do this, there may be a wait depending on whether you need to utilize one of our move-in carts. If that's the case, feel free to go ahead and get in the move-in cart line. If you are checking in at a hall where you're going to the resource center, you can ask the staff at the resource center for a moving cart if you need to utilize one. Once you have your key, you can either begin taking your belongings upstairs or wait in an elevator line. You'll want to verify that you're in the correct line, as some residence halls have several elevators that only take you to specific parts of the building or certain floors. While we have moving carts available to help you transport your belongings, there will be a long line for these specifically at U-Haul, so we encourage you to bring your own dollies and carts if this is an option for you. A main thing to remember, patience is key on move-in day, as there may be lines. The weather, it may be raining. Hopefully we won't get any snow that day. But just remember, there will be hundreds of students and their families all participating in the same move-in day, having a similar experience. So we hope to help you through the rest of the day. There'll be a variety of professional staff and student volunteers that will be on hand to answer questions and provide you support. Our support staff won't move you into your room, but we can direct you to the correct lines, to events near campus for food, or for local dining and shopping for any additional purposes that you realize you may need to make on that day. So our best piece of advice for that day is to pack light, and don't forget our motto of stop, drop, and go.
So we've created maps to highlight the routes that are going to be most useful for you on move-in day. And if you're not living in U-Haul, this is the one for U-Haul. You'll find your Hall's specific route by checking their online landing page and emails. But we want to make sure that we note there's some very specific traffic regulations around U-Haul. So as you can see on this map, you have to, basically, you're going to move in through the 13th Street door, and you can't really drive on 14th Street. So just so that you're aware, 14th Street is sort of like you can only turn right onto it. You have to turn right immediately off of it. And you can get out of the car, but that's about it. You can't stop there to unload. So it's really important to pay attention to all of the posted traffic regulations. We're here, though, to help move-in and transition go smoothly. And we just want you to know that move-in day is not all about work. So Christina is going to talk to you about the fun stuff that's happening and some great apps to download before your arrival. These apps are going to save you a lot of time and keep you updated with all the latest information.
Great. So the fun and maybe a bit more interesting stuff. So we do have several days of events planned for you all. So Lauren mentioned the presidential welcome and the reception that will be happening on move-in day. That will happen in our Kimmel Center, and our university president, Andy Hamilton, will be joining us. So that's a great time for you and your families to come together, and an opportunity for your families to kind of see you off and wish you well. Directly following that reception, we'll have a social in the same area for students who just want to stay and hang out and who maybe aren't interested in going back to their room right away. On Thursday, all students that have moved in will be required to attend mandatory floor meetings. So when you receive that email from your RA, it will tell you where your floor meeting is located. For all of the students that are in our Manhattan halls, your floor meetings will be at 7 p.m. In Brooklyn, floor meetings will begin at 7:30 p.m. and all floor meetings will be followed by a huge social, once again, for all students to attend. Friday the 24th, a really fun drag bingo. There'll be a new student panel to give you an opportunity to ask some questions, to meet each other. We will have an open mic night and a karaoke night, followed by a game night on Saturday. And then Sunday, sorry, the screen is cut off, but you will be getting this information in many ways if you haven't already. But Sunday, we will end the week with an event that we call What to Expect, which is a time where you get to hang out with some of the faculty that live in our building and ask them any questions that you may have about what it's like to be a college student and things that you can expect in and out of the classroom as you start your time and your experience here with us at NYU. So you will be emailed flyers. Flyers will be posted in your hall. But in addition to that, there are a variety of apps that we suggest that you download before your arrival at NYU to help make your arrival and your experience a bit more smooth and to keep you informed. So to get yourself for Welcome Week, for all of the events I just mentioned and many more, download the NYU Guide app to see a full list of events and schedules so that you can maximize your experience during Welcome Week. So that Welcome Week schedule will also include any orientation events that your school has planned and any other academic activities that your school may be requiring for you. So just make sure that you're downloading that app and going in to look at the schedule to really understand where you need to be for Welcome Week. The NYU mobile app is a comprehensive app that allows you quick access to things like Albert, dining information, a campus map, general campus events, and even more information. It'll also link you to another essential app, the Safe NYU app, which sends you important safety notices and instant access to campus safety resources. Finally, the Wellness Exchange app that allows students to chat 24/7 with a licensed mental health professional in 6 different languages. NYU is full of resources to support you during your time with us, and these are just a few fantastic ways to access those resources quickly and easily.
Okay, so we hope that this helped clarify what you can expect for move-in day and got you really excited to start your first year at NYU. For residents, don't forget to link up with your hall's social media. You'll be getting lots of links to those in emails from us. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. We all post lots of great stuff there. This marks the end of our official presentation, and now we're going to answer some of the questions that you've been submitting during the webinar.
Great, so a few of you have submitted questions utilizing the question box. So we can jump right in. Lauren, I'll throw this first question to you. This person is saying that the time their flight arrives is outside of their assigned move-in window. Are they able to check in if they arrive a bit late? And I guess what if I arrive a bit earlier than my move-in window? Will I be able to check in, Lauren?
That's a great question. So yes, you can check in whenever you get here. The reason that we give those suggested times is just to help with traffic flow. So just know if you arrive outside of that, it might mean that you have to wait a little bit longer just to get to the elevator. If you're coming before the 22nd, like Christina said earlier, that's a different story. That would be outside of our approved move-in time, so you should reach out to us directly so we can talk you through that personally. Otherwise, if you come later, no big deal. We'll be here whenever you get here. If you come after hours as well, there's always somebody around to check you in. Just go to the public safety desk and the officer there will help you.
All right. So Lauren, if you don't mind answering another question for us,
Ready.
if I'm moving into U-Haul, what are the car and parking policies?
Okay. So we at U-Haul, we have a driveway at our back door at 13th Street. So we'll have you pull into that driveway to unload and then pull back out. There's no, there's not super easy parking right next to us. And 13th Street is a major thoroughfare. So once you pull out of us, we suggest looking for the nearest parking garage. There will be information that day. There are several in the neighborhood. Honestly, the best way to go is to just open up Google Maps. It'll show you everything that's in the neighborhood. It's good to know that they sort of fill up early in the day. So you may have to just drive around until you find the most readily accessible one. There is some street parking as well. Just make sure that you follow all of the posted city guidelines. We don't take any responsibility for anything related to parking, so it's really important that you pay attention to what's posted on all of the signage on the streets. And I hope that makes sense of that question for you.
Thank you, Lauren. So we got a question about whether some of the planned events that we've mentioned are open for the whole school, or are they just for your hall floors? So the Welcome Week events that we were specifically referring to are for all students that are arriving on January 22nd, that will be moving in for the first time during the spring. So those will exclusively be for you all, but they aren't exclusive based on what school you're in, right? So liberal studies, Steinhardt, Tandon students that are a part of our incoming spring group are all welcome to attend all of these events. The first week of class, starting January 27th, there will be a period that's called Spring Welcome, and that will be a series of events that are open to all students throughout the entire university. And you can use the exact same apps that we've been discussing to get access to that information and to determine what events from those that you may be interested in attending. All right, so we have a question about laundry facilities. Lauren, do you want to take this? How much does laundry cost? And maybe give us an idea of how laundry works in the building.
Sure. We have like the best bargain in New York City for laundry. All of our machines are $1 per load, so $1 to wash, $1 to dry. And the way that you pay for that is using your NYU ID. You will be able to add on campus cash, so you can do that, or you can give access to friends and family to add money on for you. And in all of the buildings, there's a laundry room. It depends on the building. At U-Haul, it's in our basement. It's a pretty big one, actually. And you go, and there are card swipe machines on the wall, and you just swipe your card, type in the machine that you're going to use, click OK, and then you're ready to go. You load your detergent in or load your clothes into the dryer, hit start, and you're good to go. Super easy and super affordable.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. So we have another question from the group. Are our roommates or suite mates from the same school as us or different schools within NYU? So for students at the Washington Square campus, your roommates and suite mates will be people from different schools. So we don't assign you based on what school you're in. Our students that are living in Brooklyn, mostly students that live out there are in Tandon in the School of Engineering. Some of our students will be in Tisch. So if you live at the Brooklyn campus, it's more likely that you will be living with roommates and suite mates that are directly from your school, but we don't necessarily assign based on that. So Lauren, how about this next question about mail-in packages? So can I have packages and other items shipped to my residence hall prior to move-in day, which is January 22nd? And will you hold these items for me if they get here before I'm able to move in and pick them up?
Okay. So we really prefer that you don't send anything in advance of the 22nd because we just have limited space in all of our halls to accommodate packages and mail. If you're sending something, like we know some folks are coming from far away and you want to make sure you have like your bedding and things like that for your first night, we would advise that you do your best to have it not get here before like Tuesday of next week, perhaps, so that way it doesn't have to hang up for too long. And as long as it arrives within like a day or so of move-in, we'll hold on to it for you.
Awesome. Another question. So, Lauren, do we provide microwaves to students?
We do not. In U-Haul specifically, the setup of our room is a refrigerator and freezer and an oven and stove that is in the kitchen. And if you're living in U-Haul, I would encourage you to take a look on our Instagram page, and that our username is at U-Haul NYU. We've actually been posting lots of stories of photos and tours of the room, so it'll give you a good idea. But no, we do not provide microwave toasters. We just provide the basic cooking equipment. You can bring your own, however, so feel free to check in with your roommates and see if anybody's planning to bring one.
Great, awesome. And let's go with one more question about dining. We haven't talked about dining yet. Lauren, would you mind explaining the difference between dining dollars and campus cash? And maybe share a bit about some of our dining options around campus?
Totally. Okay, so dining dollars are part of your meal plan, and you'll be able to do some selection within the meal plan offerings if you're living in U-Haul. You'll be starting out at the 120 meal plan, and I believe if you're in the other halls, it starts at like 225. All of that information is on the dining website. So there are meals, traditional meal swipes, where you just hand over your card, swipe, get the meal. But then there's also dining dollars, which are sort of like a debit card system. So you'll have a designated amount based on whatever meal plan you have. And you can use that around campus. So like here in U-Haul, we have a Dunkin' Donuts in our lobby. You can use both meal swipes or dining dollars there. And we have a facility called Breakfast and Company downstairs, which is kind of like a made-to-order burgers and breakfast foods all day long. And attached to that is a convenience store. And so while the burger stuff might be a meal swipe, the things in the convenience store, so if you want to pick up like a box of cereal or some laundry detergent or a soda or a snack, you would use your dining dollars to pay for those. So again, it works just like a bank account. There's a certain number of dollars in there. You swipe and they debit those out. Campus cash is separate from that. So it's not part of the meal plan. It's a system where you can add money on yourself, and you can use it at any of the dining facilities if you wanted to. But what most folks use campus cash for is to pay for laundry, or a lot of vending machines around campus will accept campus cash. So it's just an easy way to quickly swipe for something without having to have cash on you. But that is not a part of your meal plan. You have to add that on yourself, and you can do that online. It's super easy to do. And so then in terms of what dining is available on campus, there are a lot of really great options to sort of meet whatever your needs are. So I talked to you about what was in U-Haul already, but just 2 doors down from us is Palladium Hall, which is sort of like a marketplace style dining option. So you can go and get lots of made-to-order things like custom salads. They have rotating things like pasta or tacos or whatever, or if you want to get a pizza made or just a hot meal, sushi. You can grab all of those there. And a couple blocks over at 3rd Avenue North, or 3rd North as we call it here, there's an all-you-care-to-eat dining facility. So that's like a more standard experience where you go and swipe in, and then you can eat whatever you want until you are done feeling like you want to eat. And then and then on campus, there are several more dining facilities. So at Weinstein Hall, we have Upstein, Downstein, and Sidestein. So Upstein is kind of like a fast food court where there's smoothies and sandwiches and things like that. There's Sidestein Market, which is a really great convenience store with a lot of different offerings and household items. Downstein is an all-you-care-to-eat facility. There's also an all-you-care-to-eat facility at Lipton Hall on the square. There are coffee and tea options. There's Starbucks, Argo Tea. And then at Kimmel, there's the Kimmel Marketplace, which is another kind of prepared to order custom grab and go meals. All of these places use dining dollars and meal plans, so you've got plenty of options. The only place you can't use a meal plan is Starbucks and Argo Tea, but you can use your dining dollars there.
All right, so I mentioned that was the last question, but we actually just got a really good question that was posted regarding summer housing assignments. So the question asked, will summer housing assignments be the same as the ones for the spring? So for students that are living in University Hall, yes. For students that are living in other residence halls, it depends. And so for students living in other residence halls or students living in University Hall that maybe want to move to a different building for the summer, we will be sharing more information with you around March to give you information about how that all of our incoming spring students will have summer housing assignments with us. In University Hall, you for sure will be able to stay where you are. For students that they aren't able to stay where they are because of the population that maybe lives in that building in the spring, or for students who are just interested in moving to another building for the summer, we will share out more information, mostly through emails and through connecting with your RAs. So please look out for that information if you have any questions about plans for the summer. All right, so aside from what we've spoken about today, if you have other questions for us, please don't hesitate to reach out to Lauren and her staff via email or reach out to me via email. All of our contact information is on the NYU Housing website. I want to thank each of you so much for participating in our webinar, and we're looking forward to seeing you next week.
Ditto from me. We're so excited to see you next week and to get to know you as the year begins. So make sure you stop by and introduce yourselves. Thanks again for joining us today, and welcome to the class of 2023.